Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Saturday class. I know you guys were just watching Professor Nolan. He was doing a great job talking about education in Korea. And speaking of education in Korea, now we're going to move on to a similar topic, depression. Because I think strict education can make lots of younger people depressed. So it's kind of a very good, smooth segue into my topic, which is depression. So yeah, with the weather changing and getting colder and coronavirus seemingly getting worse again, maybe there's going to be another stricter lockdown. Maybe people are going to start feeling more and more depressed, which is sad, but yeah, it definitely happens, especially in this year, 2020. 2020 is giving us a hard time, isn't it? So I want to look at a few things about depression. So like, when was the most depressing period in your life? What time in your life was super, super depressing? Oops, sorry. For me, the most depressing time in my life was, there were two times, but the first time was definitely I had graduated university. I was around 22 years old, 23, 22, and I didn't know what to do. My family had just moved to the UK. I couldn't work in the UK. I didn't have a working visa. I didn't want to go back to where I had grown up, to my hometown, which was in the countryside, and I didn't know where to go. So I followed a friend and we went to Seattle, Washington. I had never, ever lived on that side of the country. And for the 1 year that I lived there, everything was expensive. I never had money. I was always super poor. I was just depressed. It rained all the time, which I like rain, but when you have no money, no friends, nothing to do, it was very, very, very depressing. Very depressing time in my life. What was a depressing time in your life? Type in the live chat and we can talk about it a little bit. In said, in the military service. Yes, I guess many, many Korean men feel that they are depressed in the military service for what is it, 18 or 19 months, almost 2 years. You're forced to, just pause the rest of your life and do this military service that you really don't want to do. No one really wants to do it. And yeah, that's definitely a depressing time for a lot of people. How about the next question? What do you do when you're depressed? Like, when you're depressed, what do you do? When I'm depressed, I just sleep. I do nothing. Normally, in my normal life, I'm very, very, very busy. I like to do lots of things. I like to cook. I like to write. I like to read. I like to do all of these things. But when I'm depressed, I just sleep. I just don't come out of my room. I barely eat. I lose lots of weight. I just sleep. And that's, not good. Lee Chubul, I don't know how to say that, says crying. Yeah, I guess you cry a lot too. I don't tend to cry as much as I just turn off. I just shut out the world and I just sleep. I can't be depressed. I have kids now. I don't have time for that. Jisun said, I just write something in my diary. Okay, you write in your diary. That's good. Writing in your diary is good. When I'm depressed, I don't even have the energy to write in my diary. I don't have the energy to do anything. In says, drink beer until I can forget everything. Yeah, maybe I'll do that in the future. Hi, Alice. And Rose Cho says, I'm depressed when I can't speak English fluently. Well, then I have to be depressed all the time because I still can't speak Korean perfectly fluently. Lots of things make us depressed, and we do a lot of things when we're depressed. We stop working, we cry, we drink. Okay, here's my next question. Who is the most depressing person that you know. This is not a person that is sad. This is a person that makes you sad. So for example, I had a friend who was the most depressing person I have ever met. Whenever I met this person, he was always telling me about the problems in his life, about how everything was terrible in his life, about how nothing was good. And that's all we talked about every time we met, was about how depressing their life was. And it was just, it really sucked away my energy and happiness trying to talk to this person, because they always were so pessimistic, only seeing the bad side of things. So do you have a friend like that? Do you have like a depressing friend who when you meet them, it makes you depressed? I think it's good to kind of cut those kinds of people out of your life, because you just, after you try to help them and try to help them and try to talk to them, yeah, you can't do it forever. There's only so much you can do. Anyone have anyone like that? Maybe write in the live chat if you do. Let's move on to some phrases we can use to show our depression, show our low point in life. Jason says, I don't have a depressed friend. That's good. You don't have a depressing friend. Oh, first, before we look at some phrases, I always forget about this. Let's look at a quotation, a quote about depression. I like to do this because it makes us think a little bit more deeply about the topic that we're discussing. So Rollo May says, depression is the inability to construct a future. Depression is the inability to construct a future. So what do you think this means? What do you think this means? That depression is the inability to construct a future. How would you say this in your own words? Okay, can't do anything. Yeah, you really can't do anything when you're depressed. Anything else? I really like this quotation about depression because it really describes to me what the root, what the source of depression is. So you can still write in the live chat, but I think that depression is the inability to construct a future means that when we are depressed, when we're really depressed, we can't see ourselves in the future. Everything seems so dark and so depressing and so terrible that we can't imagine a future. We can't. We just can't see how there is a good future for us. So depression is the inability to construct or make a future, means that when we're depressed, we can't think about the future, we can't make a future. All we can do is think about now and how depressed we are, and we can't move forward. Okay, now let's look at some phrases we can use to show our depression. So first, of course, is to be depressed. This is to be sad, not temporarily, but as your normal state of being. So sad and depressed are different because sad is usually a shorter time period. Depressed is long, weeks and months of depression. Sad, you can be sad for just a moment or for just a day. Depression lasts a long time. So my sentence here is, I have been depressed since my girlfriend left me. Can anyone write a sentence in the live chat with to be depressed? And I will check it for grammar mistakes. So again, depressed means to be sad, maybe deeply sad for a long period of time. So I am sad and I am depressed are different because I am depressed is more extreme, more longer lasting. Write a sentence with to be depressed in the group chat, in the live chat, and I'll check it for grammar mistakes. Until then, let's move on to the next one. To be down in the dumps. I'm hoping many of you have probably heard to be depressed, but to be down in the dumps, have you heard this? So this is an informal way to show that you have been sad recently. Yeah, so this is very informal, very casual way to say that you're sad. So, or someone else is sad. So my example sentences you can see at the bottom are, you look down in the dumps. What's wrong? So you could say you look sad, which is fine, but you look down in the dumps is just a more informal, casual way to say sad. Let's see. In says, I am always depressed when I fail some work in my job. Work, not works. Work is usually, that's actually a good point. Let's do a rabbit trail right now. So we're going to move away from the main topic real fast. Work is almost always uncountable. So I go to work, I have lots of work. Works is only when you're talking about projects, usually art projects, usually like writing or film or artwork, like paintings. You can describe them as works of art. So if you've written many books, you've written many works. If you've painted many paintings, you have painted many works. So works as plural is only used for works of art, like paintings or books or films. Okay, back to the main topic. Jason says, I've been depressed since my child was born. That's sad. I wonder how old your child is. I do understand that to an extent, but my children are getting older now. And I'm not depressed. I have no energy. I have no time to do anything when I'm home. Lechulbul says, I've been depressed since I failed to pass the test. Oh no, yeah. Failing to pass the test is difficult, especially when you've taken that test many, many times trying to pass it. So yeah, so now those are very good. The only mistake I found was work, not works. Try to write a sentence with down in the dumps now. Remember, down in the dumps is more informal, casual. And let's move on to the next phrase, which is to be at the end of one's rope. So this is a phrase that shows you are so depressed or so stressed that you can't imagine what to do next. So to be at the end of one's rope means that there's a rope that you've been hanging on to, but you have slid down to the very bottom of that rope, and now you're hanging on to the very bottom of the rope. You're at the end of your rope. And if you slide down anymore, if you let go, well, it's all over. So to be at the end of one's rope shows that you're extremely depressed or extremely stressed. So my example sentence, or my example is, my boss hates me, my wife hates me, my children hate me, I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know what to do. I am super depressed, super stressed, I can't do anything else. So try to write a sentence with down in the dumps and to be at the end of one's rope. And let's see how you do. Oh, Jabongi says, cheer up, thanks. Thanks for cheering us up. Yeah, I think we need to be cheered up during this lesson. It's a depressing lesson. But yeah, we have to talk about all of the emotions in this class. And this week is depression, which a lot of people suffer with. So anyone with it down in the dumps or to be at the end of your rope? In says, you're at the end of your rope. Let's drink some beer. What a wonderful idea. Good, good, good. However, you need a period there instead of a comma. So you're at the end of your rope, period. Or you're at the end of your rope, comma. So let's drink some beer. Jason said, my best friend hates me. You need that S. My best friend hates me. I'm at the end of my rope. Oh. Lee Chubul says, I don't have money at all, so I feel I am at the end of my rope. Good. Very good. Well, not good that you don't have money and that your best friend hates you, but good sentences. It's hard to say good in this lesson when you're telling me depressing things, but your grammar is good. Your sentences are good. Tree HYT Small says, in times of difficulty, we must recognize the reality right away and practice our own plans silently. Well, that is very good advice. But yeah, sometimes we don't want to recognize the reality. That's the problem with depression. Maybe we know the reality, but we don't want to focus on it. We don't want to think about it. We want to avoid it, which is what I do when I'm super depressed. But that hasn't happened for me in a long time. Okay, let's look at the next phrase, to be grief stricken. So strick. Okay, this is a good one. Stricken is the past participle of strike, as in to hit, like a lightning strike. So strike means to hit something. Stricken is the past participle of strike, like eat, ate, eaten, swim, swam, swum, strike, struck, stricken. So grief-stricken means to be hit with grief. Now, grief is a very, very deep sadness. It's a very deep sadness that we usually use grief when somebody dies. So when someone dies, who is your friend or family, you feel grief. So to be grief-stricken means to be hit with grief. To be very, very, very sad usually because someone has died around you. So my example sentence says, Miss Smith has been absolutely grief-stricken since her husband passed away. And of course, passed away is the polite, formal way to say died. So just like Korean has like 죽다 to mean someone's died, what is it in formal, like 돌아가셨어요, like that's the polite way to say that someone has died. Passed away is that in English. So if you can use an example, write an example sentence with grief-stricken, to be grief-stricken. So you need like is or be or am, are. I am grief-stricken. She was grief-stricken. She has been grief-stricken. Try to use that in an example sentence in the live chat. And while you're writing that, let's move on to the next one. So to feel heartsick. So heartsick doesn't mean that your physical heart hurts. Well, it can be that. If you're very, very depressed, it can feel like your heart hurts. But to be heartsick means that you're depressed because of love. Maybe you have unrequited love, which is you love somebody else, but they don't love you. Or maybe you've broken up with somebody. Some way with romantic love, you have been hurt, and now you're sad because of romantic love. That is heartsick. So heartsick is to feel sad because you miss someone, almost always in a romantic sense, in a romantic way. So let's look at the live chat and see some of your example sentences. In says, I'm grief-stricken because the lottery avoids me every week. I'm not sure if that's about someone dying, but okay, that kind of works. I'm grief-stricken because the lottery avoids me every week. There, that's fixing the grammar. And Lee Chulbo says, my professor enjoys my bad situations. I am grief-stricken. Sorry, but I have to find enjoyment somewhere, don't I? Yeah, so those are good examples of grief-stricken. But remember, usually grief-stricken is used when someone has died, usually. So try to use heartsick. Maybe if your boyfriend or girlfriend has broken up with you, you feel heartsick. Maybe if you can't find someone to love, you feel heartsick. So it means to miss somebody, but it can also miss someone who doesn't exist. You miss that boyfriend or girlfriend that you can't find, that you can't have. That is heartsick. So try to use that in an example sentence. And while I'm waiting for you to use heartsick, let's move on to the next phrase, which is to be heartbroken. So this is very, very, very similar to the one that we just looked at. Heartsick is because you miss someone, you want to see them again. Heartbroken is maybe a more painful sadness. Your heart has been broken because, well, someone broke your heart. Someone you love made you sad. But this can also be used non-romantically. Your children can break your heart. Your parents can break your heart. Your friends can break your heart. So this is to be sad, usually painful sadness, because another person has broken your heart. So I've used it in a romantic sense in the example sentence, but it doesn't have to be romantic. So you can say, since my husband cheated on me, I've been heartbroken. You can also use this with maybe friends. You can say that my friends all went to a party and didn't invite me. I am so heartbroken because my friends excluded me. They did not include me. So I'm still waiting on some sentences using heartsick. I'm also waiting for some example sentences in the live chat using heartbroken. Please, please, please write something in the live chat so I can fix your grammar maybe. That's why we're here, to learn, to practice, to speak and listen to English. And while I'm waiting, let's move to the next phrase, which is to be pitiful or to look pitiful. So in Korean, pitiful would be like 불쌍하다. So to be pitiful or to look pitiful. And if you can see in my PowerPoint, there's a picture of a street cat who just looks so pitiful. I get so sad seeing street cats because I just want to adopt them all. But I already have one cat and he likes nobody. I don't think he would do very well with another cat. So to be pitiful or to look pitiful means to look sad and be in need of comfort. So yes, so maybe sometimes you look pitiful or you feel pitiful or you see a pitiful scene. So my example says, that street cat looks pitiful. I really want to help it. What scenes or what things do you see in your daily life look pitiful? What do you see sometimes when you're going to work? Or what do you see when you're walking around? Or what do you see on TV that looks pitiful? Write it in the live chat. Now I do have some sentences coming in. Let's see. Lee Chulbo says, I feel heartsick for my one-sided love. That's good. I feel heartsick maybe because of my one-sided love is better. I feel heartsick because of my one-sided love. In says, our team was heartbroken. Team is singular, so our team was heartbroken. He didn't give a bonus to teammates, okay? And Jisun says, since my friends met except me, I feel heartsick. Since my friends, I think you're trying to say, since my friends don't accept me, I feel heartsick. I think that's what you're trying to say. Don't accept me. Good. Very good. Well, not good again. Not good for you, but good sentences. Okay, remember, try to use pitiful. Again, this is to look sad or look depressed or look like you need to be comforted. So when I see street cats, they look pitiful to me. What looks pitiful to you? Next phrase is to snap out of it. So snap is usually like with your fingers, you snap. So to snap out of it means to stop being sad and start being happy again. So snap means suddenly to do something, to snap. To snap out of it means to get out of sadness and start being happy again. So you can say in my example conversation, oh, you've been depressed for 3 months. She was only a girlfriend. You need to snap out of it. And the man says, snap out of it. I loved her. So snap out of it means to stop being sad and start being happy again, usually very suddenly, very quickly. So if you have been sad for a long time, if you've been depressed around your friends or family for a long time, they might say, oh, you need to snap out of it. You need to stop being sad and start being happy again. Just get over it. Snap out of it. Can anyone use that in a sentence or in a conversation even? To snap out of it? While we're waiting for that, going a little bit fast, but you can write these down at your own pace. Let's move to the next one. To withdraw. I told you that when I am very depressed, I just sleep and I close all the windows and the blinds and the curtains, and I just go into a dark place and cut myself off from the world. I withdraw. So withdraw means to stop being social and talkative because you are depressed. So yeah, that's what I do. When I'm depressed, I withdraw. I go away from the world. So in my example, I said, I'm worried about my son. He has really been withdrawing recently. I wonder what's wrong. So a person who is withdrawing might not go to places. They might not go to places with friends. They might not answer the phone or answer text messages. They just don't communicate with the world anymore. They just try to be by themselves and kind of invisible. So do you withdraw when you're sick or withdraw when you're depressed, I guess? Do you withdraw? Because I withdraw from the world. Let's see. Tree HYT Small says, I will go to eat delicious lunch even though I have worries, sadness, and grief. Okay, that's a good sentence. Good grammar. It's sad that you have to hide your sadness and go eat lunch. Lee Chulbo says, I should snap out of it just for myself. Very good sentence, very good grammar. Yes, you should snap out of it and just start living again. Good. Okay. Next is to not be up to something. I know this sounds crazy. To not be up to something. So this means to not be interested enough or energetic enough to do a specific activity. So when you're depressed or when you're sad, you don't want to do something. Say, I don't want to do something. You can also say, I'm not up to something. I am not up to this activity. So you can see in my example conversation, the woman says, want to go to the club tonight? And the friend says, sorry, I'm not up to clubbing. Clubbing, we use ing because, well, that creates a gerund, which is a noun. So I'm not up to clubbing, I'm not up to going anywhere, I'm not up to eating. If you're very depressed, or if I'm very depressed, I don't even want to eat. I'm not up to eating. Sometimes you'll hear this with for instead of to, like I'm not up for clubbing, I'm not up for eating. I think to is more common, so that's what I've written here. So I'm not up to cooking. Okay, good. Lee Chulbo says, I'm not up to cooking. Yeah, if I'm depressed, I don't want to cook. I just want to eat terrible, unhealthy food if I do eat at all. So you're not up to doing something because you're not interested, you're not energetic, you're not excited. You're not up to something. Now, I should say that almost all of these phrases I'm saying have different meanings. To not be up to something can also mean that you're not doing something wrong. So if my daughter, for example, is being very sneaky, if she's doing something very quietly in the kitchen, like maybe she's trying to steal some snacks, I can say, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you up to?" She said, "Oh, I'm not up to anything." That doesn't mean I don't want to do anything. That means that I'm not doing something wrong. So depending on the context, these phrases can mean different things. So I'm not up to something can mean that I don't want to do something because I'm sad, or it can mean I'm not doing anything wrong right now. I'm not doing anything suspicious. It really depends on the context. Okay, Rose Cho said, "I'm not up to running." Yeah, I've been trying to get into a better habit of exercising and running each night, but a lot of nights I'm just not up to it, especially with the weather getting colder. Lee Chilbo says, "I'm not up to anything. She is so cute." Okay. Tizan says, "My son too, he's 5 years old." Yeah, they're always up to something. I know that if I'm watching my children and in the other room, they're in the other room and it suddenly gets very quiet, I know they're up to something. They're planning something or they're doing something wrong. So I have to tell them, "What are you up to?" For all of you with young children, I heard this very, very good advice to help your young children stop lying. So if your children are lying a lot or not telling the truth, you can tell them that, "Oh, when you lie, your ears turn red. They change color. They change to red when you lie." And so that way, when your children lie the next time, you can say, Did you eat a cookie? I told you not to eat a cookie. Did you eat a cookie?" I didn't eat a cookie. I didn't eat a cookie." They'll hide their ears because they think that they turn red. And then you know that they're lying. So that's a tricky little trick you can play on your kids. Tell them that their ears change color if they lie. Okay, now we're going to talk about unreal conditionals. Now I try to choose grammar that matches the emotion that we're talking about each week. And this week we're talking about depression, and unreal conditionals sound like this. "Oh, if I were rich, I would be happy. If I could find a girlfriend, I would finally not be depressed. If I could meet my friends, if coronavirus went away, I would finally be happy again." Those are unreal conditionals, and we use them a lot to express that we're not happy about something. So I chose unreal conditionals because they can show your depression. They can show you what would fix your depression. So unreal conditionals describe a possibility that is not true, but could be true. So you can see in the blue sentence here, "If this were my car, I would be so happy. If this were my car, I would be so happy. But it's not my car." So remember, they show unreal, they're not real, conditionals, describe a possibility that is currently, right now, not true, but could be true. So this isn't my car, but if it were my car, I would be happy. Today we're talking about present and future tense unreal conditionals, and luckily present tense and future tense are almost always exactly the same in unreal conditionals, so learning the grammar should be a little bit simple because they're really almost exactly the same. So let's look at some. These are some examples of unreal conditionals. Now look, you can see that they're separated by a comma. There's two different parts of the unreal conditional. So let's look at these. If you were a woman, you could understand my problems. Maybe if a woman is talking to her male friend or to her husband, she would say this, if you were a woman, you could understand my problems. If I were rich, I might travel around the world. If this were my car, I would be so happy. We already had that example before. So these are some examples. Now, if you notice, there are two different parts. There's the if clause, which is the part of the sentence with if. So in these three sentences, if you were a woman, if I were rich, if this were my car. Ji-sun in the live chat says, if I were having a second baby, I would be happier, not more happy, happier. That's a good sentence. Yes, if I were having a second baby, I would be happier. But that means that you're not having a second baby, so you're not happy. But it's possible to have a second baby. Okay, keep looking. So also notice what just happened. I just turned them around. So look at the first sentence. If you were a woman, comma, you could understand my problems. You can switch those around. So you could say, you could understand my problems if you were a woman. It doesn't matter which order these come in. If the green part, if the if clause is first, you need a comma between them. So if you were a woman, comma, you could understand my problems. But you can put the if clause second. You could understand my problems if you were a woman. But if the if part of the sentence comes second, you do not need a comma in between the two parts. So please remember that. So let's look at the second sentence. If I were rich, comma, I might travel around the world. Or I might travel around the world if I were rich. There's no comma here. Okay, let's keep going. Notice also that each of these examples has similarities. So for example, they each have if. Each of them has if in the sentence. That's really important. This is, unreal conditionals must have if. Also, each sentence, each of the if clauses has a past tense verb or were. Now, you must use were even if the subject is I. So look at the second sentence where it says, if I were rich. It is not saying if I was rich. Many people make that mistake. In an unreal conditional, we use were instead of was, even with I. It sounds like it must be I was, but no. In an unreal conditional, we use were. If I were rich. If this were my car. In regular grammar, we would say this was my car. But with an unreal conditional, we use were instead of was. Also, in the independent clause, not the if clause, the second part of the sentence, you need to use could, might, or would. It's possible to use other words, but these are the most common, so I want to focus on these. So use could, might, or would before the verb. So you have, if you were a woman, you could understand, that's the verb, you could understand my problems. If I were rich, I might travel, travel's the verb, I might travel around the world. If this were my car, I would be is the verb, I would be so happy. So remember that unreal conditionals, there's two parts. There's the if clause and the independent clause. Independent just means that if you only have that part of the sentence, it's still a full sentence. It has a subject, it has a verb. You could understand my problems. I might travel around the world. I would be so happy. Those could be full sentences by themselves. So you need if, you need the past tense or were, not was, and you need could, might, or would. In the live chat, Lee Chulbul says, if I were you, I would take care of myself more. Very good example. We often say, if I were you, like saying that you should do this, like I would do it. If I were you, I would quit smoking. If I were you, I would study more. If I were you, I would, I don't know, eat less fast food. If I were you is a very common phrase. Good, I like that. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's keep going. So this is practice one. Each sentence below, each of these three sentences has a mistake. There's a grammar mistake. Please correct the mistake. Write it in the live chat. Each of these sentences has a mistake. So number one, if I win the lotto, I would be so happy. 2, you will be happier if you were more relaxed. 3, if we dated, we might become closer. What are the mistakes? write them in the live chat. Then we'll check. So I just told you we need to have if, we need to have past tense, we need to have could, would, might. Look for those mistakes. Tell me in the live chat. What's wrong with these sentences? I'm waiting. By the way, this time of the year, even though it's getting colder and coronavirus and all of that, I love this time of year. I am not depressed this time of year. This is my favorite time of the year because Christmas is coming. And maybe some people hate all the Christmas music on the radio, and maybe some people don't like the cold weather and the snow. I love it. So I am not depressed this time of year. I can't wait for Christmas. It is, yeah. I don't try to bring a lot of American traditions to my house, but Christmas is one of them. I celebrate Christmas like crazy. I'm going to buy a new Christmas tree this year. Pretty soon in the next week or two, I'm going to start putting up all the lights and Christmas decorations around my house. I love it. Okay, Lee Chulbul says, number 1, the mistake is one. Number 2, the mistake is would. And number 3, the mistake is become. Let's see. We'll see. I'm going to try to wait another minute or two and see if more people will write answers. Let's see. Let's wait and see. I wonder also, tell me in the live chat, do you like this time of year? Do you like when the weather's getting colder and Christmas is coming? And what do you think? What do you think of this time of the year? How do you like it? Does it make you depressed? Because I love it. I love that it's getting colder and even that it's getting darker. It gives me excuses to eat more scones, and drink more tea and just enjoy the inside and being warm and watching movies. And the more I talk about it, the more excited I get. Okay, let's see. I like getting older. Good. That's good. I don't necessarily want to get older, but I don't mind it too much. Okay, let's see the answers. And Lee Chulbul was completely correct. Yes. So it's not if I win the lotto, it's if I won the lotto. And 2, not you will be happier, but you would be happier. And number 3, not we might became closer, but we might become closer. So there's the mistakes and how to fix them for the first 3 sentences. Yay, Lee Chulbul says. I hope all of you, all the others who maybe did this, got it correct. So I'll leave that up for a few more seconds, and then we're going to move on to the next slide. And the next slide is more practice. So try writing one unreal conditional in the live chat right now. Just write a sentence. Some of you have already done this. Like Jisun said, if I were having a second baby, I would be happier. And Lee Chulbul says, if I were you, I would take care of myself more. But still, even if you've already written one, try to write another. If you haven't written one, please write one right now. Let's try to practice as much as we can. So write one unreal conditional in the live chat right now. I will check it for grammar mistakes, and we'll try to fix it. I'm waiting, just waiting. I want to make a sentence that if coronavirus were gone, suddenly I would be so much happier. It is hard being stuck in the apartment, especially now that winter is coming and we can't go to the playground or the park as easily. It's hard with young children. Coronavirus needs to go away so that we can go to kids' cafes and we can go to Everland and we can go to, I don't know, everywhere inside because it is getting cold and I need to take my kids places. Ji-sun says, if I were a man, I would be a better father. It makes sense. The grammar is perfect. If I were a man, I would be a better father. Maybe to use this sentence to make more sense is if you're talking to your husband and your husband is not being a good father. You can say, if I were a man, I would be a better father than you. That makes it more kind of, the grammar is perfect. If I were a man, I would be a better father. But to make more sense, you would say, if I were a man, I would be a better father than you. Might work better. So it's okay. It works. Waiting for more. I'm curious, if I were to shave, would I look better? I'm trying to grow big beard. What do you think? If I were to shave, would I look better? If I were to grow the beard, would I look better? What do you think? I've never had such a big beard. I'm just trying it out because, well, I don't have many video lectures. I'm wearing a mask all the time so I can hide it. I'm at home a lot, so I just don't want to shave. So I'm just trying it. What do you think? If I were to shave, would I look better? I would probably look younger, but I don't necessarily want to look younger. Lee Chulubo says, if I were healthier, I might be happier. Good. Good sentence. Sad sentence, but get healthy. Eat healthy. Exercise some. Stretch. There's so many good stretching videos on YouTube. My wife are trying to just find stretching videos and just stretch when we can. But every time we try to stretch, the kids just crawl on top of us and attack us while we're stretching in the living room. Yeah, I definitely need to be healthier though. I need to keep running and trying to do jump rope. Let's see, any more sentences? Any more? Any more unreal conditionals? If you were, if something were. Anything? I don't mind, only your choice. I'm assuming you mean about the beard. My wife doesn't love it, but I want to try it. Okay, I'll keep looking for your sentences in the live chat. But let's move on to practice number 3. Choose one of these questions and answer it. Use an unreal I made a mistake. Use an unreal conditional, not unconditionals, in your answer. So for example, if you won the lotto, what is the first thing you would buy? I'll write my answer. If I were to win the lotto, I would buy a big house in the UK. So that's my answer to the first one. If you could travel to another country right now, where would you go? If I could travel to another country right now, oh man, that's hard. Because I want to see my dad in the US, but I want to see my mom in the UK. They live in different places. I would travel to Hawaii. Well, my mom and my dad have to come meet me in Hawaii because I want to go back to Hawaii. It's been a long time. If you could meet anybody in the world, who would you meet? If I could meet anyone in the world. I know this is going to sound sappy, S-A-P-P-Y. Sappy means like too sweet. But if I could meet anyone in the world, I would meet my parents because I have not seen my parents in real life in years, and they need to meet my kids. So try to answer these sentences with unreal conditionals in the live chat. Oh, Alice says shaving is better. Oh, I'm going to have to shave it eventually, but right now, especially in the winter, I'm going to enjoy the beard. I'm going to let it get huge. So try to answer these sentences with unreal conditionals. So, if you win the lotto, what is the first thing you would buy? If you could travel to another country right now, where would you go? If you could meet anybody in the world, who would you meet? There, Rose Cho, I fixed your sentence in the live chat. If I made cook, would have been enough food? I think you want to say, if I cooked, would it be enough food? I think that's what you're trying to say. Anyone else, please try to answer these questions in the live chat. I'm still waiting. Just waiting. And I had to turn off my microphone for a second because in the other room, my kids are going crazy. My wife is trying to keep them quiet, but it's not always easy when you have such young children. Let's see. Ji-sun says, if I won the lottery, I would buy a ticket for traveling all around. Good. Not easy to travel right now because of coronavirus, but yeah, if I won the lotto, I would definitely want to travel a lot. Travel and buy a new house and just enjoy life. Yeah, coronavirus is just making everybody depressed and travel hard. So keep answering the questions in the live chat. If you could travel to another country right now, where would you go? If you could meet anybody in the world, who would you meet? I would definitely not travel to the US right now, except maybe Hawaii, because Hawaii's doing okay with coronavirus, but the rest of the US, no. Coronavirus is just going crazy over there right now. Lee Chulbo says, if I won the lotto, I would buy a house with a garden for my dogs. So, with a garden for my dogs. Now, I should say that this is important, not important, but garden in America and in the UK mean different things. In the UK, a garden means a yard, which means like just the green grass where you can walk and dogs can run around. So that's garden in the UK. But garden in America, in the US, means like where you plant vegetables. So a garden is where you have tomatoes and green beans and potatoes and cabbage. You don't want your dogs running around the garden in the US. But running around the garden in the UK is okay because that means yard. So different in different countries. So if you're in America, you should say, if I won the lotto, I would buy a house with a yard for my dogs. But in the UK, you can say with a garden for my dogs. Just a little note there about UK English and American English. If you could meet anybody in the world, who would you meet? Do you want to meet a celebrity, maybe? Let's see. Alice says, if I could travel to another country right now, I would travel to Iceland. Now that is an interesting choice, Iceland. Not many people say that. I wonder why you want to travel to Iceland. I've never traveled there before. It would be interesting though. Yeah, why Iceland? I'm curious. It does look like a beautiful country. Maybe one day I will go there. I'm going to wait 1 or 2 more minutes for some of your thoughts in the live chat, but pretty soon I need to go. We're almost at the very end of the lesson. Yeah, I want to thank all of you, or some of you, especially some of you, for really commenting a lot in the live chat. If it weren't for you, I would have a big problem. There's an unreal conditional. If it weren't for you, I would have a big problem, because if no one is commenting in the live chat, what can I respond to? My lesson would be much more boring. I want to watch Aurora, the Aurora Borealis. Yeah, we have to say Aurora Borealis, or just the Northern Lights. Maybe the more common way to say that. The green and pink and red things in the sky. The Aurora Borealis or the Northern Lights. Lee Chubo says, by the way, do you want to live in the UK? Why do you want to buy your house in the UK? Okay, I'll answer this very quickly, then I have to sign off. My family, most of my family, moved to the UK like 15 years ago. I've lived in the UK for a couple of years. We live in Korea right now, but the plan is in maybe, I don't know, 10 years, we're going to move to the UK because, well, for a couple of reasons. But yes, in the future, I want to live in the UK. One of them is one of the reasons is so that my kids can study in a different school system. They don't have to worry about Sunung, because I don't really enjoy the Sunung system. So that's one reason. But yeah, in the future, I definitely want to live in the UK if things are looking good politically. Okay, good. That's it for me. Thank you for joining my lesson, and I'll see you for the last YouTube class next Saturday. Next Saturday is the last one. So see you then. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Stay healthy and stay safe. Bye.